February of this year by the in-depth reporting of the Houston Chronicle, which documented decades of abuse involving more than 200 abusers and 700 victims. More recently, the Chronicle captured the stories of several survivors who were victimized even by some of our own international missionaries. Furthermore, Lifeway's recent research survey on abuse uncovered that 1 in 10 churchgoers under the age of 35 have left a church because they felt abuse was not being taken seriously. So as Southern Baptists, we need to be honest with ourselves and recognize that we have failed in a number of ways. We have failed to adequately train our staff and volunteers on the national, state, and congregational levels to be aware of and to respond appropriately to survivors of abuse. We have failed by not taking disclosure seriously enough and by not easily enough believing the survivor. We have failed consistently to report abuse to civil authorities. We have failed by glossing over the behavior or the language of political, institutional, and congregational leaders when their behavior and their language glorified the mistreatment of women and children. We have failed by misusing church autonomy. Church autonomy is a precious Baptist doctrine, but it is no excuse for inaction. Southern Baptist polity has never precluded accountability. And let me hasten to add here that this is not to dismiss the many Southern Baptists who have acted in exemplary ways in responding to sexual abuse. Over the last year, we have heard countless stories of Southern Baptist leaders who have handled these issues in exemplary ways. But still, I think we can agree that there is more that we could have and that we should have done as a convention of churches. Finally, we have failed by tolerating unbiblical views on grace and forgiveness that allowed an abuser a second chance to prey on the vulnerable. Christian teachings on grace and forgiveness never mean covering up sin in ways that expose others to harm. Are not only immoral, they are illegal. And somebody that has abused another should never, ever be in a position in our churches where they can do it a second time. And if they are truly repentant, they will understand that. Now, some of us may be tempted to believe that confronting abuse is a distraction from our primary mission. We come together for evangelism. But as I said in my presidential address, this first, what greater lie could we illustrate about the gospel? At its core, the gospel is about God's commitment to protect the vulnerable. The cross shows us that God is a safe refuge for all who run to him in repentance. What greater lie could we tell about the gospel than for us to not be doing whatever it takes to make our churches safe places for the vulnerable? The second reason it's a gospel issue is, why would the lost trust us with the message of salvation if they're not sure that they can trust us with the safety of the vulnerable? Why would survivors trust us to care for their souls if they're not sure they can trust us to care for their wounds? Some of us may be tempted to believe the numbers of incidents of Southern Baptist sexual abuse aren't really That's a terrible way of thinking. First, we know that incidents of abuse are underreported. We know that it takes an extraordinary amount of forward, and that for every one that steps forward. Let me just add here that if you are here or listening on the live stream and that's you, but I encourage you to reach out to a trained counselor so that you can get instruction on on how to prepare to take the necessary steps to report and to begin to seek healing. Maybe the bigger reason that this is a terrible way of thinking is simply this. Let me ask you, what if one of those reports was your son? What if one of those data points was your daughter? Would you say, well, it's not that bad of a problem? In our convention, didn't Jesus leave the 99 to go and protect the one? My brothers and sisters, we are here today to declare that even one victim is one too many. Some may be tempted to say, well, our church hasn't been guilty of this, and so going through this Caring Well challenge and the things that you're putting forward, this just feels too cumbersome for us. It's not really a problem at our church. First, only a fool would look at the numbers and say, yeah, this can't happen. This can't happen at our church. Brothers and sisters, even beyond that, our Bible commands us to not let our good be evil spoken of. Is not the integrity of our gospel witness worth this price? And yes, if some churches have to go the extra mile to demonstrate that they are above reproach in this area, that should be a price that they are eager and willing to pay. So Southern Baptists, at this moment, we have to ask ourselves, and I ask you, are you ready to do all that you can to confront this Southern Baptist abuse crisis for the sake of the people that God gave into our care and for the sake of the gospel witness in its integrity? We're at a place where bold resolutions and sweeping statements are not sufficient. Victims do not want to hear us making bold declarations against abuse. They want to see us, that we care enough about this issue to do whatever it takes to make our churches safe for survivors and safe from abuse. Victims have told us words without follow-up actions are worse than no words at all. So in February, I presented the executive committee with 10 calls to action. A lot of work has been done since then, and so today I want to present you with 8 updated action steps that we need to take now as a convention. To see lasting change happen, we need to unite together in these 8 areas. First, we need the right heart. We need to grievously lament the presence of abuse in our churches and to take responsibility for getting rid of it. That is why we have spent an extended time throughout this week, including moments ago, lamenting, repenting, and asking for God's help. Second, we need the right public statements. Now again, let me be clear. Statements are not enough, but our statements can signal our intentions and our resolve, which is why I look forward to our convention considering a resolution on abuse later this afternoon. That and the amendment and the bylaw changes that we ratified yesterday should send a strong signal about our resolve. Third, we need the right partnerships. As Southern Baptists, we are at our best when we work together. Let me just tell you, I am so encouraged at how eagerly many of our entities and our associations and our conventions have stepped forward to address this problem. The best accountability, you know this, whether you're talking about a local church or you're talking about the convention, the best accountability always begins locally. Our seminaries, our state conventions, our association of leaders have each signed on to separate statements of principles on abuse, committing themselves to best practices regarding the prevention and the reporting of abuse and the care for the abused. Our states and our associations have stepped forward to offer training and tools as well. These partnerships at every level have to continue if we desire to bring about change. Fourth, we need the right training. The ERLC did something unprecedented this year when they scrapped a fully planned conference for the fall, and they changed the focus of their fall national conference to address abuse. I want to encourage every one of you to send a team to Dallas on October 3rd through 5th. I want you to get equipped on abuse awareness, prevention, and care. We owe it to the vulnerable in our communities to get the best training that we can, and that is what will be being provided at our October conference. Fifth, we need the right resources. Our sexual abuse advisory group has, in partnership with Lifeway, produced a new free video-based training curriculum called Becoming a Church That Cares Well for the Abused. It provides training from national experts on all sides of this problem. You received a free copy of that curriculum as you entered the convention hall today. That is because of the generosity of the cooperative program, the generosity of Lifeway, who has produced this curriculum, and the RLC. We encourage you, we encourage every church and every entity to take their leadership team through it. 6, we need the right governing documents. We need not only to be clear about how we feel about abuse, we need to be clear about what we are going to do about abuse. That's why yesterday's votes were so significant. The newly approved Standing Credentials Committee will enable us to address situations when churches mishandle abuse. And the proposed constitutional amendment, once it is affirmed a second time by you next year in Orlando, will make it explicit that churches who show a wanton disregard for sexual abuse cannot be in friendly cooperation with the Southern Baptist Convention. I need to note to you that for a denomination that is nearly 175 years old, changes like these in our governing documents are monumental. 7th, we need the right ministry screening process. I'm asking our executive committee to work with us to review and strengthen guidelines for our ordination processes so that we are only ordaining into ministry those who are above reproach in this area. And I am calling on the executive committee and the committee on nominations to incorporate screening and background checks for all trustee nominees. Furthermore, I'm urging our sexual abuse advisory group to continue its work in exploring possibilities in a range of areas, from databases to additional resources to legislative solutions, to ensure that we are doing all that we can to confront and prevent abuse and to keep predators from moving from church to church with impunity in our convention. 8th, and finally, we need the right unified call to action. This is the big one, okay? This is the big one in terms of what we must do right now. We want to invite you to take the Caring Well Challenge. We are asking your church to commit between now and the annual meeting next year in Orlando, commit to an 8-step process that will bring your church up to speed in your awareness, prevention, and care practices. Now, I know, we're pastors, a lot of us in this room, and you say, well, we've already made plans for our next year, and we don't have room for this in our calendar. I would very candidly say to you, you don't have room not to include this in your calendar. The impact of this moment on our gospel witness is too critical for you to minimize, to postpone, or to ignore this. And so I would encourage you, humbly but forcefully, to respond to what we believe the Spirit of God is saying to us as a convention of churches in this moment. Some of you say, well, the format of the challenge just won't fit our unique church situation. That's fine. Adapt it. But adapt it. The Southern Baptists, we are nothing if not creative in adapting things to our context. But let's all embrace this together. Our advisory group is committed to continuing to provide all 47,000 plus churches of our convention with the tools and resources to walk your church through the process. By the way, I'm pleased to update you this afternoon that every Southern Baptist entity and almost every state convention is encouraging the effort of the Caring Well Challenge. I'm thrilled to tell you that we already have hundreds of churches already that have committed to the Caring Well Challenge. Brothers and sisters, let me step aside for just a minute. Imagine what a difference it would make in our communities if thousands of Southern Baptist churches committed right now to the Caring Well Challenge. When you came into the hall today, you received a card with details about the challenge. I'm asking you to commit right now by going to caringwell.com. Do it on the way home, do it today, do it as soon as you can and sign up. My own church is committed to doing this, and I hope yours will also. Susan Cadoni was right up here on stage with us. The story we heard on Monday night. Grew up as a Southern Baptist right here in the Birmingham area. On Monday night at our event on sexual abuse in the Southern Baptist Convention, she bravely shared for the first time publicly her story of abuse. For over a year, her youth pastor sexually abused her. When she finally worked up the courage to tell her senior pastor, he didn't help her, but instead suggested that she had brought it on herself. And then he began an abusive relationship with her himself. After the senior pastor was caught later in an affair, he was forced out of the church, but both the senior pastor and the youth pastor continued to work in other Southern Baptist churches throughout their careers, perhaps abusing others. Brothers and sisters, there are survivors like Susan Kadoni throughout our churches and our communities. We owe it to them and to the Savior who shed his blood to redeem them and save them, to do all that we can to protect them from those who would abuse them in his house. Jesus said to the Apostle Peter, if you love me, feed my sheep. Take care of my sheep. This is the moment for us to love our Savior and serve his children. I want to invite each one of you, just as a show of unity and our resolve collectively, I want to invite all of you to stand to your feet right now. I'm going to pray for us together, and I want to ask that you hold up the curriculum you received as you entered this afternoon. Just want you to hold it up into the air so that we can pray for God's blessings on our convention's efforts as we embrace the Caring Well Challenge together. Southern Baptists, we cannot change our past. We cannot change our past, but we can shape our future. May God enable us to protect his sons and daughters for the sake of the gospel. Let's pray together. Father, symbolically holding up these is Caring Well for the Abused curriculum. Father, we ask right now that you bless and that you enable and that you empower us to do what you commissioned us to do, and that is to protect your sheep, to lay down our lives if that's what it takes to protect the sheep. God, I pray that we would lay down our reputations. God, let any thought of what this looks like to us and what this means in terms of our reputation, God, let us banish that thought. God, we don't care about our reputation. We care about the people that you shed your blood for. God, we pray for them. We pray that we provide protection for them. God, we pray for those that are still wrestling through this, maybe have never come forward. We pray for a moment of healing for them, that God, they would begin that process of healing. God, we pray that you would give us the strength to go whatever extra mile we've got to go to demonstrate, to state boldly and clearly that our gospel is too great, our gospel is too urgent to send any mixed signals when it comes to our willingness to protect those that Jesus shed his blood for. We ask for help on that. We ask you to do in this area what Ephesians 3 says, exceedingly abundantly above all that we might ever ask or imagine. Lord, have mercy on us. Have mercy on us and help us. Build your church through us, we pray. Build the house, Lord. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Help us, we pray, in Jesus' name. And all God's people said, amen. Amen. You may be.
At this time, the chair recognizes Russell D. Moore, President of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, for report.
Brothers and sisters, we stand here at a moment of great gravity. And as we stand here at this time of gravity, we think about our churches, churches we came from, churches we represent, churches we speak to. I think about growing up, Woolmarket Baptist Church in Biloxi, Mississippi, hearing from time to time about the age of accountability, the reminder that there comes a point at which no person can plead ignorance before God to his standards, a time at which there is no excuse for responsibility before the judgment seat of Christ. An age of accountability can mean that, but it can also mean an era in which it is time, long past time for the Church of Jesus Christ to stand for what is right. Over the last year, we have seen in bold letters a story that has been told before and a story that was too often not heard. In listening to survivors of church sexual abuse over the last year, the word that I keep hearing the word that the Sexual Abuse Advisory Group keeps hearing, the word that all of us involved in this keep hearing, is the word satanic. I think that's the right word, and I do not mean that merely metaphorically. Because what else could it be but literally devilish to prey upon the vulnerable, to seek to kill and to destroy the psyches of those under one's care, and to do so hiding under the name of Jesus Christ? Southern Baptists, we have reached our age of accountability. And the vital question before us today is, what will we do next? Your Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission is here to help us to think through and to live out the answers to such questions. Over the last year, it has been a privilege for the ERLC to partner with our SBC President, J.D. Greer, with those serving in the President's Sexual Abuse Advisory Group. This group behind me right now has prayed together, labored together, wept together over the wreckage that Satan and awful people leave in the wake of abuse. And I'm proud to share that as part of this report, the resources and challenges that this advisory group has put together to equip churches is something that is extraordinary. Above and beyond that, your ERLC has been happy to advance this issue in all sorts of other ways. As one small example, many of us celebrated a recent passage of a bill in the Texas legislature that would codify expectations of churches in communicating credible sexual abuse allegations, protecting them from civil liability if they let another congregation know about a potential staff member for whom there may be questions about sexual abuse allegations. You think of how many of these stories that we have heard, even just in the last 24 hours, that talk about an abuser moving from congregation to congregation to congregation. This bill, we celebrated when it was signed into law because it will help to protect people from sexual abuse, and it will serve churches that do the right and just thing. But we also celebrated this piece of legislation started in our ERLC Research Institute. One of our ERLC Research Institute members, Bart Barber, pastor, the member of the Texas House of Representatives, to craft this legislation. Because for too long, predators have used the fear of litigation as a weapon against churches that did the right thing. No church should have to face a question about whether they should share a credible allegation for fear of legal intimidation by an alleged predator. And soon in Texas, they won't. More still, your ERLC is planning a comprehensive focus on these issues of church sexual abuse at our ERLC National Conference, as President Greer mentioned some moments ago. We were planning an event built around another topic, and in the middle of this year, the weight and the enormity of this crisis and being face to face with those who have survived such enormity hit us with such weight that we realized we owed it to our churches to devote every ounce of energy that we have in providing the very best resources possible to address this issue. That's why just months out from our conference, we shelved everything and started from scratch in order to take up this issue. The stakes are too high. Implications for vulnerable people and our moral witness are too great. Brothers and sisters, we must speak with unflinching clarity to a watching world and say, those who would use religion to prey on those who are looking to hear a word from Jesus are more than just criminals, although they are certainly that. They are those who commit spiritual rape of the most incestuous and violent kind. And we, the people of the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ, will not stand for it for 1 minute. This is a crisis of credibility. In the name of Jesus, what will we do? Well, I will tell you what we should do. We should listen to Jesus. We as Southern Baptists went through a battle for the Bible 40 years ago. We should love our inerrant Word of God so much that we not only memorize it, that we not only preach it, but that we obey what it says. And we should care that a watching world often bases what it thinks about Jesus in part in what they see in the lives of the people who claim allegiance to Him. How we react to this crisis tells us a lot about who we are and what we really believe. And part of the reason that we take the issue of abuse so seriously at your ERLC and in the churches as we cooperate together is because our God is a God who cares for those who are hurting and vulnerable. We care about the fact that there is spiritual warfare happening all around us, that Satan does not fear a church that believes in status and power. That's because a church that believes in status and power already believes in Satan. That's his way. A den of vipers could not crush the serpent's head, if only out of professional courtesy. Game recognizes game. But an outpost of the kingdom of Jesus